Welcome to another episode of Dad Can We Talk? I'm your host, Anthony Ray, and this is episode 108. So we 8 episodes past 100, man. So uh y'all know me, it was a big goal to get to episode 100, but I am not stopping there. I'm trying to get to episode 200, so um yeah, I'm continuing to keep it pushing. I need for everyone that supports the podcast, go to Dad Can We Talk on YouTube, type it in your search bar and it will come up. I need y'all to subscribe to the channel. That's the greatest way to help Dad Can We Talk grow as a podcast. And it's the greatest way to support these dads. If you listen to any of these stories from the dads on the podcast, leave comments, reach out to them. I always say the biggest thing I think for dads is appreciation. Let dads know that they're doing well, let them know that they're doing good, give them constructive criticism. I think that's always a good thing for us also to know where and how we can get better. So we're always open to comments, leave reviews, all of that. All of that helps this podcast and it helps other dads. One thing I will say, I have had some women reach out to me after certain podcasts, and y'all have these certain grievances with these dads. That's really not my place. And for all the women that have reached out in that way, I have let y'all, they'll tell you, I tell them that it's not my place. Y'all have a grievance with the dad, go and let them know. This podcast, I give dads the opportunity to speak for themselves and get their own story out there. So that's what I'm gonna continue to do. If you don't like it, yeah, I can't do too much about that. But I'm gonna give men an opportunity to speak for themselves. And that's what this podcast is about. That's what it's always been about, and that's what it's gonna continue to be about. So I just had to get that out, put that out there. Yeah, man. So also if y'all can go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, wherever it is that you get podcasts from, like the subscribe to the podcast there. If you can, go to Facebook, Instagram, follow there. And if you can, if you don't want to go to any of that stuff, go to dadcanwetalk.com. You can find the podcast there also. Everything is streaming, the YouTube, the audio podcast, everything is there at dadcanwetalk.com. So yeah, without further ado, man. So today I'm here with a brother that reached out to me some months ago, and I've been waiting to get him on the podcast. From what I've seen, from following him on social media, man, he's really serious about this business stuff, man. So I've been following him for a few months now. I love what he's doing. When he reached out to me, he told me some things about what he had going on, and I was like, yeah, I gotta get bro on here. I gotta hear his story. I had a couple of other people that I know that said that they did know him, and they were like, yeah, definitely has a story. So, man, y'all listen. I y'all know me. I just love to hear stories. So I'm ready for this one right here. And I want to introduce to the show my man Eric Harris. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Nice to meet you, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for the platform.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. So we gonna do it how we always do it, man. Dad, can we talk? Always has the same first question. So we gonna start there today. So my first question for you is, what was your relationship like with your dad?
My relationship, my dad was probably I would say strained, but I think we both played a part in that. I don't think it was just his fault because, when I became an adult, you know, it's a lot of things I could have let go that I didn't. but at the same time, I didn't know how to approach my dad and have that conversation with him about how I felt because of things like what we doing right now. This conversation I'm having with you is rare, in our community. Where where I come from. I don't know about other
Mm-hmm.
people.
Straight
Just
up.
having this conversation with my dad was hard for me to do. And that's I could just leave it at that. I don't want anything, negative about him because I love my dad and I will always love my dad. However, we working on our relationship right now. I would say that.
I love that, man. Love that. And I think that's a big thing, even for you to be able to say that. A lot of people won't admit that, sometimes we do play parts in different relationships that we have with certain family members, moms, dads, uncles, aunts, brothers, cousins, whoever. At times, you know, there's always two sides to it, and sometimes sometimes it might just be that person, but I'm a firm believer that, especially when it comes to parents, um, especially for us as black men, a lot of us did have those strained relationships with our dads, and our dads weren't there for whatever reason, or something might have happened. I just think it's always good for us to work on those relationships as much as we can, because um, I have talked with a lot of guys who end up losing their parents, and then once they're gone, they're gone.
Right.
It ain't no more men in that relationship after they're gone. So I just think it's always a good thing to, as we're living, do everything that we can to, um, if anything, be at peace in those relationships and make it work.
Right. Right. I agree. Just to add context to it, I think I grew up with my dad in my life, but we moved away from my hometown when I was young, and even before then, I think him and my mom probably had a strained relationship and
Mm.
moved. That didn't help not being in the same city that he was. So when we moved to Gainesville, um, I seen him, but it wasn't on a regular basis. And so,
Mm-hmm.
part in it. But at the same time, like I said, moving forward, how things played out, you know, I'm happy that, what I'm saying, things that occurred in my life, good and bad, I'm happy they occurred.
Mm-hmm. And what was your hometown?
Crystal River, Florida.
Crystal River. Okay, so what was it? When did you come to Gainesville?
I moved to Gainesville when I was 12. I think I was in
Oh,
like
okay.
up started at Westwood. It was culture shock.
Yeah.
Cause River, man, I mean, it's a very small town, and all of us, most of came from one of maybe 5, 6 big families there. So moving to Gainesville, I was here by myself. I think I had maybe a few cousins here that were from from my on my mom's side, and from my grandfather on my mom's side, and we got closer. My cousin Sophia and a lot of my other cousins from that they were from Gainesville when we moved up here. But I didn't have a lot of family up here when I did come here.
Mm. Okay, okay, okay. So what was it like growing up in your household? What, like what were some of the highlights for you, growing up? How was it growing up in your household? What made you into the man that you are today?
I would say once I seen how it was with other families. Like my family, my mom, she didn't have, a lot of stability once we came to Gainesville. But back home, a lot of my family members did. And, I look back on that, how my grandmother raised her kids and, my other family members, had good things going on in their life. And I want to model not only, my life in Gainesville after what I seen, I would put it like what you see on the Cosby Show. You got
Mm.
a family that's built on a solid foundation. Um, when I moved to Gainesville, it was just the opposite. So how it was in my household, I had to become the man at an early age, and it
Mm.
started once we got here. And the highlights, I think were when we did things like we came to Gainesville, we had like the heat wave on the weekends,
Yeah.
let us sing and rap, go to the neighborhood, get on the stage, and they did things like that a lot, and that was I couldn't wait till the weekends around Gainesville, man. Everything, cause we went to every neighborhood, and we was able to learn about other cultures and stuff like that, and different things in the Black community. And that's what gave me my pride and my sense of Black power, Black excellence, things like that. Is when I moved to Gainesville. So a lot of
Mm.
people talk about Gainesville in a negative way that's from here. I'm not from here, but I can see the bright parts of my life came from here. As
Mm.
far as learning, what I'm saying, cultures and what I'm saying, different things like that.
Yeah,
And I
no, that's
those
real.
waves, those heat waves, that was everything to us, back then when we were kids. That's kind of where it started at, and even with Rodney Long and Wayne Fields, people like that. They had the radio station. They used to reach out and get the city to come bring the fire trucks, and man,
Yeah.
we used to they all kind of big. I mean, it was like a festival in every neighborhood every weekend. I think it kept a lot of violence down. It kept a lot of us from getting in trouble. So that I would say like every weekend, and then sports, of course. I loved football and stuff like that. So that was one of my main things in sports. And then just being around people, that like the same things I like as far as like we did music and stuff like that. A lot of music was going on back then in the city.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, and so you grew up on Lake Road, right?
Yep. Yep.
Lake Road.
I
Okay.
grew up
Shout out to Lake Road.
Dope Dope MD, man, Joe Creed. Yo, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who were some of the other, other guys? I know your dad wasn't there at the time. Uh a lot of times when you were growing up. So who are some other men that you would say that maybe were some good role models for you or other mentors in the community that you looked up to?
Um, Again, I grew up watching people like Elo, Eric
Mm,
Lopez,
yeah. Shout out to Elo.
yeah, Wayne Fields, um, Rodney Long, Kip Hayes,
Shout out to Big Kip.
a lot of those guys like that. They had names in the community. Even Kevin Lionel, you know what I'm saying? Kevin Lionel.
Okay.
We call it whatever the last name is, but Kevin Lionel, that was our hero, man. Guys like that, because that's what we looked up to. You know what I'm saying? We felt like, one day that's how we wanted to be when we grew up. We was young. You got to think, I was 12, 13 years old. So those were some of the guys from here that I looked up to, once I got in Gainesville. Back home, I had an uncle, he's a fireman, my Uncle Sterling. And a lot of the business people in the community around Crystal River, the Copelands and, even my family, the Whaleys, the Watkins and stuff like that, they were, the McKinnons, they are business people in that community. And those are the people I looked up to, my family members that, made those type of moves and stuff like that so that, they could kind of have, carry on to create generational wealth for us and, the other people.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. So, yeah, some of the names you called out, man. Definitely a lot of respect around it. That's really what's up, man, for real. And so, how would you say that those relationships, that relationship with your dad and the relationships that you had with the other men that you looked up to and stuff like that, how would you say that those relationships, especially the one with your dad, influence the way that you now parent your own children?
Well, to be honest with you, um, I needed more of that. I needed to see
Mm,
I needed more of that in my life because when, seeing, my dad he still is a major mechanic. He can take a car out the junkyard and have it looking like a brand new car in less than a week.
Yeah.
He's really good like that, but all in all, just seeing stuff like that and seeing people take things from the ground up, you know, some of the names that I named, you know, you haven't always heard great things about them. But when you seen them, they were doing great things. And that's what I respect. And that's the biggest thing that I can say about all of those guys that kind of helped foster who I am today. I seen who they were when they was in my face. As far as who they were, what other people seen in them, I can't attest to that because I don't know that person that they were talking about. I know the people that I seen. I know the Rodney Long that I seen. I know the
Mm-hmm.
I seen and the Kip that I seen when we met. You know, those are the things that I hold on to, and those values right there about the guys that help make me who I am today.
That's real.
Even
Love that.
Kevin, look at the thing that Kevin doing in the community as far as his businesses and stuff like that. Look where he come from. You can't take nothing from that. You know what I'm saying? No matter what you look at as far as what he does, as far as what we don't see on the business aspect of and the people who he's helping, the light bills and the food that he put in people's houses because he's providing those jobs speaks volumes, and I respect that. I give all those guys their flowers right now.
That's real. And man, and that's a real reason why I wanted to interview Kevin, man. I've heard so much about him throughout the years, ever since I grew up in Gainesville. So, I always heard his name ringing around the community. And man, y'all be looking out for that's my next interview, man. Kevin Lynam, shout out to Big Kel. You know, cannot wait to get him on the podcast and really just allow him to tell this story because I've heard this story from a lot of people,
Right.
and I say, I want to hear it from the man mouth himself, man. So yeah, I love that though. I love that. And the reason I ask you these questions because uh I just really like to see who people's influences were, and I think your influences and people you looked up to and the people that were there for you, mentors and father figures and role models, uh those types of people help shape who we are, as we us in our older age now, we got kids and we done grown up and all that stuff now. But when you look back and you see the people that you really looked up to, I think it could tell a lot about the man, and sometimes that's good or bad, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes those influences can lead you down a different path, um, and sometimes, so I think it's just good to um hear and understand, people's influences and where they came from and all those names you named. There's no wonder why, you're a businessman and that's what you do, and you big on entrepreneurship and all of that. So that ain't no surprise to me after hearing all those names. But I wanted to ask you this, man. I was listening to one of your older interviews and I heard you saying something about how you dropped out of high school. And I want you to talk about how dropping out of school affected you in your earlier life.
Actually, I was kicked out of school in the
Oh.
first couple of weeks of my 10th grade year. Me and one of my friends, we got into a fight with another group of guys at a football game. Um, it didn't end too well, and we ended up getting expelled from high school after that. And
Wow.
yeah, his parents had a lawyer, and my mom couldn't afford no lawyer, so I ended up going to the Lofton Center. And even before then, I mean, to be honest with you, yes, I had those influences in my life when I was young, but by the time I got to Gainesville, the biggest influence in my life, he was more of an influence to me than any of those. And, he taught me how to steal cars and change serial
Mm,
number, rob and sell dope. And that's what I was into from the age of 14.
that's
You know,
real.
uh, I think my first uh after I started making money from stealing cars and changing serial numbers, we was selling cars and all. The police used to pull us, man, couldn't even do nothing to us. It was crazy. And I made a lot of money doing that, and I started selling dope. And coincidentally, uh, once I started selling dope, I was like 14 or 15, and already had cars and rims and stuff like that because that's what I was into before I started selling dope. So yeah, it was a wild ride because the guy that I would say kind of raised me, that's what he taught me. And my mom ended up letting the guy move in with us when I was about 14 or 15. And he was, he had weight, he had big weight, and he was hiding it at our house. And I was still at Westwood in middle school, and I used to steal it. He didn't know I was stealing it. He found out later on, but I used to steal it. And I was taking to school, selling to the white boys. I didn't know no better. I knew better, but I didn't know what I had.
Yeah.
And luckily ain't nothing bad happened, but that was my first experience. And that came from, another black man that influenced me. Once he found out I was stealing it, it was like, might well get on, you know what I'm saying? So I can say it was good and bad, as far as my experiences with, father figures and people like that in my life. But I think the ones that influenced me to do wrong had the biggest influence on me because they was right there in my face all the time.
No, and that's so real. And I think it be like that at times when we have those negative influences, is because a lot of times we see it a lot in the community anyways. So yeah, you do have the positive guys in the community. And I think at times the negative has a greater pull than the positive, because you see more negative than positive in the
On my
community.
on my interview, that old one that I did at my store in Ocala, I talked about back in the days, a lot of guys used to, a lot of the older guys, they like, see us on the corner, they would know we were doing our thing, and they would like, man, you making money in the streets, but if you can sell crack, you can sell cars. And just like I said in my other interview, we didn't have a lot of people teaching us how to sell cars. You know what I'm saying? We had all our influences on the other end of the spectrum. So if people would have taught us how to sell cars and made us understand that, hey, you can take the same hustle that you got and you can apply that to a different formula. You ain't got to do it with them. You can do it with something else. And I think that's the biggest thing that I learned, to do that changed my life, is just reapplying that. Because even though those guys didn't teach us how to sell cars, they planted the seed. You see what I'm saying? Like, they planted the seed for me to understand that, I can sell something else. I don't have to sell this. And once I got my feet up under me and understood that I didn't have to sell drugs, because for the longest, you got to think, I started selling dope when I was 14. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know that it wasn't okay to sell dope because I was taking my money home and I was doing the right thing with my money, and I always did, even when I came up in the streets and it really was out there, I did the right thing with my money. You know what I'm saying? I took care of home. I put home first, no matter what you see me with, you better believe, for them bills way, way ahead at home. I don't play that. So that was the biggest thing for me, is just being out there and seeing a lot of different aspects of the street life and that culture when I was kicked out of school, and I was able to really sink deep into it. So by the time I got back in 10th, 11th grade, I'm driving to school with cars and rims, and I talk about that now, but I promise you I don't glorify it, because I try to get kids to understand that that wasn't even no money.
Yeah.
These people be talking about money these days, man. I just be looking at them like, I kind of like, okay, I understand why we're behind now, because we thought that $100,000 a year was money when we was kids, and as adults, we think $100,000 a year is a lot of money. Some people they got debate right now online about if it's a lot of money. It depends on how you budget yourself and how you live, and that's my point of it. I don't think that matters to anyone except who had to deal with that $1,000 a week, how they like to live, and that's something I taught my kids. You know, I took them to McDonald's and I took them to other places and let them see how other people live and work. And I'm like, listen, if you want to be basic, this is what you gonna have to do. You do basic things. Don't go to college. Don't start a business. Don't just get your diploma and go get you a regular job and you're gonna live a regular life if that's what you want. If you want to be great, you're gonna have to do great things. You cannot be regular. And I had to learn that myself, taught my kids that, you know.
That's real. No, that right there is real. Y'all listen, the man giving free game. I always said he giving game for the free 99. So you either gonna take heed or you ain't. But so you did a little time. So you did a little time behind the wall.
Yep, I did too. Yep, I went to prison.
And what age were you at that time?
I was 99. I was 20. I think I was 22.
Okay, so 22. So, after doing that time, and I know for there, when you went in, you were saying, you did your business plan and all that, and you were just trying to really get yourself prepared to come back into the world and really do something positive for yourself. But what would you say, like now that you did that time, you came out, you had your business plan, you started doing your business stuff. I wanted to see what you thought about this. Like, do you think it should be mandatory in high school for kids to take entrepreneurship classes?
I would say start off with life skills and find out what I teach with, like, on Black Facebook and things like that. This is the first thing I get people to understand. Kids need to, you need to hone their skills that they have now. Sometimes they have skills that they don't realize they have. But I wouldn't necessarily say entrepreneurship before life skills.
Yeah.
Especially because you can teach people all the entrepreneurship you want to. If they don't have basic life skills, matter. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them out there got to get, I meet a lot of guys that want to start businesses, and bro, you got to get your driver's license. You got to do the basic thing first. I understand you want to try now. Don't think that you can't use business to do that. But there are certain steps you're gonna have to do. If you want to start a business in order to get your license, it's kind of hustling backwards. But it can be done. You can do it. You know what I'm saying? But you have to attack the basics first. So in high school, I think they should start off with life skills. And then a lot of these kids want to be doctors. They want to be lawyers. They want to be things like that. But they're not teaching things like you can go get an OSHA certification, bro. And it don't matter about your criminal background or nothing. You can go get certified. You can go get your OSHA 510, which is the biggest OSHA certification you can get for the government. And you'll get a great job and you'll get a great position. And it's a 4-day class. It's $800 and you take a class for 4 days and you get an OSHA certification. And just things like that, bro, will help a lot of these kids tremendously, especially, and I'm speaking from kids from our community.
Yeah, straight up.
I try to teach entrepreneurship because that's what saved me from a life of crime, and that's what saved me from prison and death, is learning how to make money without having to do that illegally, without having to be in the streets or try to do that, in a way that is not legal. I can make tons more legally. And I think just teaching just that basic thing right there, the stock market, there's so many different things, real estate, which is all that, is a part of entrepreneurship as well. But I teach entrepreneurship from a different level. I try to teach people how to make money with starting from zero. If your life at zero and your pockets on zero, I taught you a bit because it just you got to learn life skills first. And once we get your life together, then we're gonna start finding out, figuring out what you good at, what you like to do, what can you wake up and do every day without making no money. That's what you like cutting hair? Okay. I'm gonna introduce you to my homeboy Abdul over here. He gonna show you all that. Well, I'm gonna take you over here, you know what I'm saying, to this barbershop and let you meet my partners that started from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? And now they making tons of money cutting hair. You ain't got to go out there and do the wrong thing to make that type of money. It's basic skills. You can use your basic skills and make you $250,000 a year.
Easy. Love that, bro.
But no, I
Love
don't
that.
push on. If the kids want it, I think they should push it.
Like an
However,
elective,
right.
Yeah.
And man, you still learning the basics of life. You know what I'm saying? You still gonna have to learn. They need to be teaching. I know you see. They need to be teaching like, job skills. That's gonna be like plumbing, electrician,
Yes,
stuff like that. Cause all that's gonna be a good feather in your hat when you grow up, and it's gonna take you a long ways. Now, entrepreneurship, they have to be ready for it. You have to make them understand that working for yourself, you're not gonna work 8 hours a day. You're gonna work,
right.
you're gonna work more like 20 a day. You know what I'm saying? It's a different type of thing when you're talking about starting a business and versus hustling. You know, but in school, I keep saying they should teach entrepreneurship as far as, like you said, an elective, but make sure they teach these kids their basic life skills first. You know what I'm saying? Teach them credit. You know what I'm saying? Teach them how to do the basics in life first, and then teach them entrepreneurship. That's what I would say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Love that. Love that. Love that. Man, when you first found out you were about to be a dad, like what was that first thought, when you heard those words, you were about to become a dad, or like you got a child on the way. Like what ran through your mind? Like what emotion was there when you first heard that?
Okay. I was in the streets. I was in Potus, and
Yeah.
I remember to this day. So my high school sweetheart, well, we had 3 kids together, and so this was the first one. She called me, and she let me know she was pregnant, and I was like, I was in the streets, and I remember she called me. I had a cell phone and all back then, so she called me. She was like, "Yeah, I'm finna have a baby," and I was like, "You know what? I got to sell everything."
Yeah.
Happy, yeah, man. I sold everything, bro. I sold my car, my rims, my jewelry. I sold everything. Went and bought her a car. Yeah,
Okay.
what? I went and bought her a car. She was still in high school. Yep,
Yeah.
she was still in high school. I went and bought her a car, man. I sold everything. I was like, well, I got to get out of the streets. It's over. No
Yeah.
more. Yeah, it's over. I'm gonna have a child. Man, I was overjoyed because I had been planning, for a long time. I was like, I'm gonna have that Cosby Show life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was going there to how I thought I could do it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was very happy, man. I was very excited because, I knew that was gonna humble me and that was gonna make me change. I don't think I did it without that phone call, I wouldn't have made it. I was out there head first, but I was supposed to be, doing other things with my life. But like I say, that guidance. And I kind of guided myself down the wrong direction. But when I felt like I was finna be a father and I knew that was official, I pretty much packed it up. I was like, yeah, I'm finna leave this alone. So it worked for a little while. You know what I'm saying? I got me a job. You know what I'm saying? It worked, man. Definitely. But it's hard to cold turkey the streets like that. But I definitely did it, and I knew from that point on, I knew I could do it. So I started preparing myself to permanently leave the streets and just be a working person. Going back and forth to work, staying home. You know what I'm saying? I'm very domesticated. I cook, clean, all that. I don't, ain't no
Yeah.
shame. I Yeah, changing Pampers and all that. I love
Yeah.
that, bro. Doing it for my little brother. I was when my first brother was born. I think I was 8, and then my second brother was born. I think I was 14. So I was like his daddy, the one that was when I was born. When I was my little brother Dante, when he was born, I was like his daddy. So I took him everywhere with me, man. I was supposed to be in high school, but I had to got kicked out by then. So he was everywhere with me, like he was my son once he started walking. So I was ready to be a daddy when my kid's mom called me and told me that she was pregnant.
Yes, man. And see, I love stories like that because I always tell people, I talk with young guys. I'm like, man, listen, boy, if a child don't change your life, boy, I don't know if it's any hope for you.
Definitely.
Because I'm like, bro, if you can know that you got a child in this world, and that right there, just the thought of that, knowing that it's no longer you, it's no
Right.
longer just me no more.
Right.
Like I got a person dependent on me, like a little baby that can't do nothing for themselves is dependent
Right.
upon me.
Right.
And if that don't change you, bro, I don't know what else can. So I mean, outside of God, but I don't know, bro. Like that, like you say, well, my wife, for me, it was a different thing. I was married and everything,
Right.
when I first, when I found out my wife is about to have the baby. And even with me being married, it's still, like you said, something just clicked in my mind, like, okay, dang, bro, I got to grind. I was already
Right.
working, but I'm like, I got to work even harder now.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can't play around no more. Like, bro, it's it. And then when that baby came and I held my baby for the first time, man, the most life-changing thing I think I've ever experienced in my life. The first
Yeah.
time I held my daughter in my hands and looked at her in her face and seen them eyes, bro, I was like, boy, it's over. It's a
Yeah.
wrap. And especially with having girls, and what you got, two girls, right?
No, bro. I got two girls from my ex-wife. Um,
Okay.
with my high school sweetheart. I got two girls and a son. And I got two other kids. I have a daughter in Atlanta named Tierica.
Okay.
She and I have a daughter in Ocala named Kamora. She's 6. And then I just had twins.
Ooh.
It's bro, boy and a girl. Legend and the Mari. Yep.
Ooh.
But yeah,
So all together, that's what, four girls?
yep,
Three, four. Ooh. Yes, sir. Boy, you
yep,
really in there.
yep.
So
No, it's five. It's five. It's
five.
yeah, 5 girls and 2 boys.
Sheesh.
Yep.
Man, these two I have, bro, boy, them two girls, boy, oh boy. Them jokers, they the ones that really, really, really keep me on my toes.
Right.
Now, my son be about making me want to bam him on his head sometime. But so what's the ages of all of them, of all your kids?
My oldest, the age of 27.
Okay.
She and I got a 1-year-old granddaughter from what the Mila just turned 2. I got a 2-year-old granddaughter from my oldest daughter. She's 27.
Sheesh.
Yep. Her sister Ariana is 25. Little Eric is 24. So those three are from my ex-wife. Well, I had them when I was really young.
Yeah.
And my daughter Tierica, she's 18. Well, she just turned 19 in March. Kamora 6. And then my twins, they'll be one on May the 10th. And we're having a party for them, man. They a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so you deep in the game. You 27 years in this fatherhood game. Well,
oh man, love it, man. Keep me grounded though, man. A lot of people like, man, how you gonna have more kids? I be like, listen, man, if I didn't, man, I'd go crazy.
yeah.
Up, man, and seeing the kids, man, and living that type of lifestyle. I'm I'm a father. I mean, I'm a father to the fullest, bro. Like I love being around them and being with them. You know what I'm saying? In the times that I can't, and the times I couldn't, oh man, I was sick, bro. I
All
was sick.
right.
You know, and I think a lot of women don't understand that. Some of us can't function without our kids. At least knowing that they're okay, talking to them every day and stuff like that. Um, a lot of us can't. You know, a lot of men, man, we feel just like even though women gave birth, and I don't take nothing from that. I don't take nothing from a woman that, gave birth to a child and y'all have that bond because you gave birth to that child. But you have men that we have that same connection, that same love, just like we gave birth to them kids.
Damn.
Like we like they hurt, we hurt. If they cry, we cry. We like very bonded. So imagine having that type of love for your child and not being able to see them or not being them for a period of time. Imagine if a woman went through that. Imagine if a woman couldn't see her child for a months or years or like weeks. They'll lose their mind. You know what I'm saying? But that's it's like torture, bro. But yeah, man, I love all mine, bro. You know, people like, you gonna have some more, you gonna have some more. I said, man, listen, that's yet to be determined, man. You know, hey, yet to be determined. I mean, but all jokes aside, though, you have to be stable, and I'm stable now. I can do it the right way now. I can say in the past, I wasn't able to do it the right way, and I was in the streets most of that. I was in the streets most of that time. And even when I, wasn't in the streets, I had a business, and just like I just said, with a business, you work 20 hours a day. So both of those kind of took time away from me and my kids, you know what I'm saying? So now I can do it the right way. I have time, I have money, I have things that I can do that I couldn't do back when I was a younger father. Now I can do it the right way. And trust me, I love this life, man. I love it, bro. I wouldn't change it for nothing, man. People be like, man, the prime of their life. Well, you gotta think, bro. I got custody of my kids, my 3 kids that I raised by myself. I got custody of them when I was 30 years old. So my whole 30 to 40, I was raising kids by myself, bro. 2 girls. That I'm talking about. When my girls turned to women, I was at Walmart, bro, like this right here. You know what I'm saying? Oh, what are you? I got my oldest daughter on the phone. My youngest daughter, like, wait, no, I'm at Walmart, like, okay, what do you mean? What? Going crazy, but I love it, bro. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? I stood up in the paint, doing my job. And I don't need no megaphone, and I don't need no pat on the back or flowers for doing my job. You know what I'm saying? One thing I will say, Black fathers, we get beat down when we do try to, say we are proud fathers or single fathers. Because as soon as you tell somebody you're a single father, they be like, well, the women been doing that for years. You know what I'm saying? And that is true. That is true. But I think today, being a single father is, you see it a lot more. You see Black men stand up in the paint now. You know what I'm saying? And they deserve their flowers now. You know what I'm saying? They them the ones that's trying, the guys that's genuinely trying, whether it's financially or being there physically or however they're trying, I think they get beat down the most. The guys that are out there that have to be single fathers or want to be single fathers and made that decision to be single fathers, those are the ones that get beat down the most. And I think that was the biggest reason I asked you to let me come on the show, because they don't have a voice. You know what I'm saying? It's like, soon as you say, I'm a single dad, boy, look here. It's like, you get the worst. It's like, what do you mean you're a single dad? You see women out here doing it? And you like, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I'm trying, and don't beat me down for saying I'm a single dad. Like, what is that? And I went through that, bro. I had that issue. I had a real issue finding, I was a single dad for 10 years. I wanted to have that Cosby Show type life. So I was trying to find my mate during those 10 years. I was trying to find me a woman to be there to help me raise my kids, get married, live that lifestyle. I'm not bashing nobody, because a lot of people know my history and, the people I was with during that time. I couldn't find a woman that I felt would love my kids as their kids.
Mm.
And that was a mistake I made raising my kids when I was a single dad. I was out looking for, someone to be there because my kids didn't have a mother figure there at the time. And I probably should have just waited on God. You know what I'm saying? Because when I did decide to wait on God, he sent me the perfect person, you know.
Straight up.
But guess what? You know how I had to get there? I had to be by myself for 2 years. I had to say, you know what? I'm not even concerned about no relationship at all. The only relationship I'm concerned about is the one with me and God. And I did that for 2 years, bro. I had to get my life right because I was kind of being pulled in so many directions. I had lost my mom. My kids had started graduating, going to college, boy, I'm experienced empty nest. I was a single dad for 10 years, bro. Think about that.
Dang.
Yeah, and after I cold turkey the streets.
Mm.
So it was a rough ride, but boy, let me tell you something. The other side of that thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Yeah.
Love that, bro. And you said so many important things in that, and that was gonna be, you already answered one of my questions. I was gonna ask you about that, like about being a single dad and stuff. And I think at times, like you say, women will say that type of stuff. And I just don't think that men that take care of their children like that don't get the assistance. And not saying that men even be looking for some of this stuff sometimes, but just in general, I don't think single dads get the assistance, the admiration, um any of that type of stuff that single moms get at times. People, really talk so highly of them, and not saying that that's a bad thing either, because my mom was like that. My mom raised me and my two brothers by herself, and she deserved all that.
Right.
But in the same way, I would like to see men, you know, be how, I mean, just dads in general. I think at times we don't get, you know, the appreciation at times that we deserve. And for me, I'm raising my three kids with my wife, and have always since they've been on this earth. And I know how hard it is with the partner here. And so
Right.
my thing is, a single mom or dad that's raising children by themselves deserves so much, because I'm like, I'm just looking from a parent standpoint, bro. It's hard.
It is.
It ain't nothing easy about it. It ain't nothing, of course you're gonna do what you got to do,
Right.
as a
Right.
parent. But it's like, to say that it's easy, nah, it's difficult at times when when you going through your own personal stuff in life, and
Right.
I know I got my wife I can lean on, at
Right.
night when I need somebody to talk to, I need a shoulder to lean on,
Right.
things ain't going right for me. I know I got somebody there.
Right.
And so to know that there's parents out there that don't have that person there at times when they need it, and you might not have that support group around you, mom or dad or grandparents, or other family members or friends that could relieve you at times from that duty when you just need
Right.
some time for you.
Right.
And so I give the utmost respect to single moms and dads, for standing up in the pain and doing what they need to do. So like I say, when you was telling me about all that, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta get bro on here, because I got nothing but respect for what you've done, bro. For real, for real.
I got married last year in May. May the 4th is our anniversary, man. It's my wife. It's her first time having kids. So
Wow.
yeah, man, it's a great experience because the stuff that I learned from being a single dad and then having kids at an early age, it's a great experience, man. Then watching her, being a first time mother, man. I'm sitting back, like, women are amazing, bro. Like they do an amazing job on both ends of the spectrum because they have to like kind of wear all the hats. We
Mm.
go to work, what I'm saying? We go come home, we help with the kids or whatever, but they have to do everything. And the reason why I know that is because from being a single dad, bro. Like coming home and having to cook after work, and then got to manage the bills. You got to, make sure school clothes, winter clothes, summer clothes. I mean, it's a lot. So
Field trips.
field trips. Oh goodness. Oh, let's not talk about sports and cheerleading, man. Oh my goodness. I don't even want to talk about cheerleading, bro, because I go through that all over again. But I mean, like you say, you know, it's a good experience, man, to even have that, because a lot of people grow up and don't even have that experience as far as having a family, having a mother there, a father there. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't have that experience, and just to be able to provide that for my children and be there, I love that. You know what I'm saying? That's the pride of my life right there.
Man, so much truth in that, bro. Love that, man. What was it like raising? What is it like? You know, you still going through that. What is it like going raising teenagers? So my oldest just turned 10. So, you know, I got about 3 more years before I reach that point. But what's it like raising teenagers?
I was strict, bro. But I wasn't. I was strict, but I was cool. Like I let my kids, like, you could have a boyfriend and you could have a girlfriend, but you're not gonna be having different dudes calling your phone, and you're not gonna have different girls calling your phone and coming by here. Nah, nah, nah.
Mm.
And then I think back then, I think I was, and they talked to me that they be like, Daddy, you wouldn't let us wear weave, you wouldn't let us wear hell, none of that in high school. Not until we turned 17, 18, we was about to graduate. And I look at them and smile. And I say, look at y'all now. Got master degrees. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, we laugh about it. Even with my son, I'm gonna tell you a story, man. I used to drop my kids off. They was going to Duval. Then I had custody of them, man. They were like 10 on down. So I had to go pull up the Duval to drop them off. And I let them out the car right there at the elementary school in the front. And I give the two girls a hug. I'm like, get daddy a hug. Y'all give me a hug. And I had got so many reports about little Eric. He just wouldn't do right. So I was like, little Eric, come here. And I grab him, I just grab him, I jack him up a little bit. I'd be like, listen, don't you go. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't hug him. I couldn't do him like this. I would tell him I love him, I would understand, but I couldn't be soft on him like I was with the girls, because with boys it's different. You gotta kind of, like you say with your son, you gotta kind of let them know, hey, you know what I'm saying? You got a daddy here. We don't play like that. And he turned out to be a great young man. Um, I know, and he tell me all the time, he was like, Daddy, if you went hard on me back then, oh my goodness, man, you just don't know the stuff I like to get away with my mom and my grandma. Like, I used to just be doing so much, but he was like, with you, and he was like, to this day, he was like, man, listen, I appreciate that. My girls tell me now, they like, we appreciate you being hard on us, because if it wasn't for that, I feel like we would have been in the place we at, and that was my only job, and I wasn't overly like strict like that. But I didn't play nonsense.
Yeah.
You know already when you go to school. You know that when these people tell you what you're supposed to do in school, you know that they shouldn't have to call me and tell me that you're not doing that. And you know that it's gonna be an issue if they do. And I didn't really believe in spanking my kids. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna talk to you one time, and after I talk to you, it's gonna be a consequence if you do it again. That consequence is not got to be a whooping. It don't have to be a capital punishment. Cause you know what hurt them worse? Take that phone or
All right.
take something that they love. You got to sit good. But if you don't pay your kids no attention, how you gonna know what got their attention? So if you take something that they love, and don't just take it for a week. You got to make them feel that. And that's what I did. That's how I dealt out my punishment. I just sat back and I took the phone, I take that laptop,
Yeah.
I take the tablet, and guess what? You might not get it back till it's time for you to do a homework assignment, and then give it back, because I'm not playing with you, you know. And I raised them that way, to understand that this is for your own good. I was not no happy mean individual, like, oh no, you got to no, I was not like that. But I made them understand that I hate being strict on y'all. But when you grow up to become an adult, watch how you become somebody in life. Watch how successful you are. Because I'm not letting you stay out all times of night. I'm not letting you go to your friend's house because I don't know their parents. You know what I'm saying? And even if I do know their parents, I'm not letting you go over there without the proper supervision. You know, I think
Straight
we
up.
away from that these days. Raising teenagers is different these days. The influences in the internet and the stuff that I mean, my daughter, my 6-year-old, she was watching something on YouTube the other day, and I had to call him like, "Hey, I don't think you need to be watching that." And it was a kid, like a little kid show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you got to pay attention to these kids, man. You got to pay attention to these kids.
Man, and see, and that right there gives me a lot of encouragement because like you say, I'm pretty. I try to tone it down. Sometimes I'm pretty rough on all three of my babies, man, my girls and my boy. And but one thing I always tell them is, yeah, y'all mad with me right now, but when y'all get older, y'all gonna
Right,
appreciate me.
right,
Cause right now they just say, oh, Daddy, you only want to be mean to us and you hate us. And I'm like, man, y'all, whatever. Y'all saying that right now. But as you get older, you gonna understand I'm gonna be on your behind until the day I'm off this earth. And
right,
I have to be like this,
right.
and these jokers have been on punishment over here from electronics for like a whole month right now, bro.
Whole month. That's what I'm
And
talking about. You can't.
so
Hey, you got a whole month, bro.
straight up. And and,
Yeah.
and I this weekend, you know, I was thinking about it. I said, you know what? I'm gonna let them. I'm gonna let them mess with it today. And when I told them, bro, you should have seen how happy they was. Oh my God, they so happy. They jumping around, they dancing. And I say, but you see, if y'all follow directions, this could
Yeah.
be more often. But
Right.
one thing I'm not gonna do is let y'all just get on them all the time. I don't want that no more from y'all because I feel like, I don't want y'all to think you just gonna come home and go straight to electronics. No, we're
Right.
not doing that because y'all haven't been on them for a whole month now. So obviously there's other things that you can do. And
Right.
so I did that Saturday. Yesterday, I had a couple things to do. We went out, ran some errands, did a few things. We came back home. I said, hey, listen, if y'all clean this house, and when I say clean the house, y'all know what I mean. Everything. I want spotless, the rooms, the
Right.
bathroom, the kitchen, everything.
Right.
Man, I said, if y'all do that, I'm finna go in my room and take a nap. If I wake up
Right.
from my nap and it ain't how I want it to look,
Right.
forget it.
Right.
Man, bro, listen, I woke up, but this house ain't never been as spotless as it was yesterday.
Oh goodness, that's crazy.
and, and so I be on them like that, but like I always tell them, boy, y'all gonna appreciate me one day because I'm trying to teach y'all important things about life. Life ain't all about games and laptops and phones and all that. No, learn to clean up,
They
do
had the
that type of
spot.
stuff.
Get them. They had the spot.
Man, bro, listen, they don't wash the dishes, they don't clean the room, they don't clean the bath. Bro, ain't never looked that spotless ever.
They let you know they know exactly what they doing.
Exactly. Exactly. So I told him, now this Sunday, tomorrow, Monday, don't come home from school asking me about no games because I'm letting y'all know for the rest of the week, y'all ain't messing with nothing. We going back
Right.
to how it is. We ain't
Right.
playing no games. I
Right.
take you to the park, but as far as them phones and all that, we ain't doing that. And so sometimes I feel like, dang, they gonna hate me when they grow up. But
Yeah. I felt like that. Even now that they grown, a lot of times that I used to think about like how hard I was on them, but I see them taking trips and man, I might call my kids, they might be in Brazil somewhere, bro. I'm like, where you
yeah.
at? Like what? But when stuff like that, man, taking trips and living life and being better than you were and than you ever could imagine. That's when you have that overwhelming feeling of joy, man. That's
Mm.
that's a feeling.
Dang, boy. You got me excited a little bit here.
But you see them, and what I'm talking about, man, bro. When my kids started getting them degrees, because I know what they faced, bro. They faced a very difficult time. You know, their mom was diagnosed with a brain disease called AVM, and you know that's why I got custody of them. I had custody of them before then, but during that process, when she got sick, and I had to kind of get them on a permanent basis, and I told them, I was like, listen, a lot of people use stuff like this to do the wrong thing and to justify doing the wrong thing. Oh, you know, this happened, so I had to, you know, I went crazy. I lost it. I say, but you have a group of people that use stuff like this for strength and encouragement, and they use it to do the right thing. And I said, y'all use this to do the right thing. Don't make it harder on me. Don't make it harder on your mom, because we get ready to have to go through enough. I need y'all to stand up on your own 2 feet and make us proud. And boy, when I tell you my kids did that, bro, hey, bro, they did that. They did that. They made and the whole time I had a lot of people like, they be trying to give me props for being a good, oh, man, you did that. And guess what I tell them? Well, my kids made it easy. Made that thing easy. For real. I mean, my kids made that whole stretch, that whole 10-year stretch, they made it easy, bro. I wasn't missing no clubs, I wasn't missing no streets, I wasn't missing nothing. I didn't care about nobody talking about me or anything like that. I was no embarrassment whatsoever. I had to went me, hey. And that's what make you the man you are today, bro, because all your motivation come from your family. You know, anybody that know me, they know that about me. My motivation come from my kids and my family. You know, that's where my get up and go, drive hours and work for hours and hours and hours a day. I know I got something home waiting on me, and that's what I'm doing it for.
That's real. Love that, bro. Got a few more questions for you, man. So, what would you say was, if you could just name one thing, like what's the most difficult part? What's been the most difficult part of fatherhood for you?
I would say the times that I couldn't provide for my kids the way that I wanted to. For instance, when my daughter left for college, I still had 2 kids at home that were still in high school, and I was a single dad. Right after that, I ended up separating from a woman that I was getting ready to get married to, and I got an apartment, and with my 2 kids that were in high school, and I had one in college. Well, it took me a while to get back on my feet after that, because right after that, my mom got sick. She stayed sick for a year and ended up passing away. So that whole stretch right there, I couldn't really be there for my daughter that was in college the way that I wanted to, and the way that I could have been in the past. You know what I'm saying? So what happened was, a couple years went by to where my daughter was in college up there at FAMU, and I was just in a bad situation at home where I had all these bills on me. My mom had just died, and I couldn't provide the way that I wanted to for my daughter that was in college. And then, you know, just at home, you know, things started getting dicey, because as a single dad, especially coming from the streets, I didn't have a lot of resources, you know what I'm saying? If any, you know, my resources was, I was selling CDs and DVDs. And luckily I was making, you know, hand over fist off of that. And I was able to use that to kind of have some kind of balance, but I didn't have stability. You know, after my mom died, I had just left this woman I was with, and it took me a while to get back situated. And I think was that's the hardest part, is when you in situations and you want to do that. You want to, you know, give your kids money hand over fist and take them to Disney World and, you know, buy them cars and do all these glorious things for them, pay their college tuition. You know what I'm saying? When you're in a position that you can't do that, that's a very hard thing. But what you have to know is, a lot of times that is setting it up to where you're gonna be in position to do something that those kids can't even see at those times. That's that growing stage. That's that stage where, it's not gonna always be peaches and cream. But guess what? On the other side of the fence, when she got ready to graduate from FAMU, I was able to hand her some cash. I was able to say, okay, I'm straight now. You know what I'm saying? And I think just that, yeah, that whole period of time was rough for me because I didn't have a solid foundation, you know what I'm saying, before that. And then once I lost my mom and had to go through that whole thing, it was like I'm taking care of my mom. She was sick for a year. I'm a single dad. My mom in Crystal River, she's sick on her deathbed, bro. I got my kids up here, so I'm kind of like leaving them, going to high. I gotta go in the morning. I gotta get up, get them to school. You know what I'm saying? Have them in school. When I drop them off, I gotta go back down here, take care of my mom, help with my brother, help with her bills. You know what I'm saying? Me and my brother trying to help with her. Then come back up here 2, 3 o'clock to get them from school, bro. I mean, a lot of people they lose it. It because they love their kids and they want to provide for them and they want to be the best parent they can. But man, sometimes you're gonna get in a situation where you're gonna have to do what you have to do and what you can do. And it's just a testing of your faith. It's not gonna always be peaches and cream being a parent, no matter if you married, if you single, or what the situation is. It's gonna be situations that happen that you're just not gonna be able to handle, and you're gonna have to turn to God. And once I did that, I started getting back together. My business started coming back together, and I ended up getting some really good jobs. Working for a nuclear plant and stuff like that. And I got myself together, man. But yeah, it was rough for me during that time, and that was the hardest part of being a parent is the time that I couldn't do for my kids.
Man, that's that real up, boy. Dang, man. What's one area of parenting that you got going forward that you want to get better at?
One area of parenting I want to get better at is adjusting. It's very hard having a business and balancing that time with family, or even work. Period. You got a regular job, a 9 to 5, and you got a family at home. That's very difficult. So what I want to get better at is balancing that time. So what I'm working on now is learning to make money and sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
That's what. Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to make that money while I'm asleep. So when I'm awake, I can go take my family to the beach during the weekday. I'm on that.
Yeah.
I'm almost there. Yeah, I'm almost there.
Yes, sir. Love that. Likewise, my brother. Man, last question here. If you could sit down like you and I are doing right now and talk with the 18-year-old version of Eric, knowing everything that you know right now, and you can look that young man in his face and give him one piece of advice going forward, what would you say to him?
I would tell the 18-year-old Eric Harris, I would tell him to not take his eyes off of God, because I think that was the biggest mistake that I made. Because before I moved to Gainesville from Crystal River, I was raised in the church. My auntie kept me in church every Wednesday, Sunday. Like that was I was rooted in the church, and I think I would tell my 18-year-old self to not to turn away from God. And I never did turn away from God, but I think just becoming an adult and what I'm saying, the situation I was in, a lot of what I learned as a child about being a Christian and putting God first, I think I lost a lot of that along the way. And just seeing the things in front of me of this world kind of kept me wrapped up in the things of the world. So that's what I would tell myself, to stay wrapped up in God.
Love that, bro.
Yeah.
Love that's great advice for any and every young man, dad, woman, all of us out there, man. Keep your eyes on him, bro. We can have a whole podcast on that. So we ain't gonna go too far into that, though. Boy, oh boy, man, y'all listen. this it was good, man. I got a lot from this. I'm encouraged. I always say, Dad, can we talk ain't just for I put it out for everybody else to hear it, but Dad, can we talk is for me.
Right.
Like I need this. Like I need these conversations because I ain't start Dad, can we talk? Because I'm some perfect dad and I got it all together and all like that ain't what this is. Dad, can we talk is for me because I
Right.
need to continue learning from other dads. And I like to sit down and hear other people's perspectives and other people's experiences and stories because I'm trying to learn. And
Right.
I can say that I learned a lot just listening to your story, and I'm encouraged now, to do better, because like I say, I ain't got it all together and I'm just trying to get there, and along the way I want to help some other brothers on my way to doing better. So man, I appreciate you, bro, for everything
Yes.
that you shared and your story. I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, man. If nobody else don't see you, I see you, bro.
I
And
appreciate it.
yeah, I just want to encourage you to just keep on pushing forward, man, and continue to keep your eyes on Yah and know that he see you too. He ain't take his eyes off us. He's still right where, even when we do leave him, he gonna be right in the same place where he was when we left. So keep on pushing forward, bro, and never forget the things that he's brought you out of, and
Yeah,
keep being a daddy to them babies, man, for real, for real.
man. Hey man, look here, man. I love it, man. I love it, bro. Can I shout out my websites?
Oh yeah, do all that, man. Do all that.
Uh, yeah, man. Y'all go visit blackfacebook.org. You can Google it, www.blackfacebook.org. Or if you're looking for clothes, shoes, I got all the latest apparel, shoes, clothes. You can go to www.atl352.com. ATL352.com. Y'all go in there and get any kind of shoes, any kind of apparel you want.
That's raw. So yeah, man, y'all go find them websites, man. Uh, if y'all ain't get it, it's recorded. Y'all can rewind it back. Go and visit my man websites.
Anybody trying to start a business, or if you have a current business, blackfacebook.org. We're all about entrepreneurship. It's everything positive. We don't have no negativity. We don't have no negativity in our group whatsoever. It's all positive. It's all about black business and black excellence.
Love that, bro. Love that, man.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, y'all go check my man out. Y'all go find him and spend some money with my man.
I
When you
appreciate
spend money with him, you are supporting fatherhood. You supporting black fatherhood. You supporting black business. And that's what we should be about, man. Really supporting each other and uplifting one another. So y'all go to my man websites, go do your due diligence, go seek him out, go find him on Facebook, go like all the Facebook groups he got, and participate, man. Participate. That's a big thing that we need to do in our community. So Eric, man, it was good talking to you today, bro.
I
And
appreciate
like I say, man, you keep on pushing, bro, for real.
I'm gonna give you your flowers too, bro. You're doing a good job, man. I've definitely been following your work, man. Your platform is great, bro. You're gonna do great things. Anything I can do to help, let me know, man.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, man, y'all stay tuned to Dad Can We Talk, www.dadcanwetalk.com. You can find this episode and all other episodes streaming at that website. And yeah, man, y'all continue to keep it pushing out there. Love all y'all. And let's keep it going. It's Dad Can We Talk episode 108. And we out of here. Bang.